1. I was hired as a barista at this boba shop that just opened up a couple weeks ago. I went into the shop about twice to buy drinks, talked a little to one of the owners of the store, and basically had the job by the third time I went there. I'm 16, and obviously I was super excited because this was my first job. My first day went well, and I had fun despite it being overwhelming. I came in 2 hours earlier for my shift because the trainer had to leave earlier, and I stayed about 30 minutes after closing to help clean up. The first thing the trainer asked me was what my favorite drink was. Showed me how to make it, then taught me the next few easiest drinks to make and remember. I kind of had to train and work on the spot with orders coming in. Then I was basically thrust into everything. I had to ask my coworkers for some help and pointers because, of course, it was my first day. They had to teach me how to make some drinks, etc. Then I got pulled into rush hour. One of the owners started helping the 2 other employees make drinks while I decided to just wash the dishes because I knew I'd do more harm than help. I stuck to making the drinks I knew for sure how to make, and before long it was closing. A very eventful first day, but again, I still had fun, so I didn't mind. My second day was similar to my first. I got thrown into rush hour and I helped close the shop because I had another closing shift. Still, the other 2 employees were more experienced than I was, so it was easier for me to learn as I went. I was still trying to memorize drinks and try to branch out and make the ones I didn't know, so I took some time to do that. I did that my first shift too. However, earlier on in my second day while I was making one of the drinks, the trainer pulled out either a phone or a stopwatch. I don't remember anymore. She told me it took 1 minute and 18 seconds to make the drink, when it should take me 1 minute. I was slower than the other employees, but she said it was okay for now, since I rarely made mistakes, and this specific drink was taking other people around 2 minutes to make. So she just told me that I had to be faster when making the drinks. I didn't think too much of it, just digested the information and told myself to do better and try to get faster. My third shift, oh boy, it was rough. The 3 employees working were me, a guy who had more experience than me, and another guy whose first day was today and didn't really know what to do. The trainer was also there, and so were the 2 owners. It wasn't as bad as earlier on in the day, but rush hour came once again, and that's when things got messy. I kept making mistakes. I'd panic and take longer on blended drinks because a lot of mine didn't fill up all the way to the cup. I wouldn't hear certain things the trainer was telling me because it was too loud, and failed to execute some of the orders because of it. I accidentally made extra for some of the drinks because of poor communication on my part. So I decided to try sticking to the drinks that I knew how to make. I would grab the cups with the stickers of the order on them and put them into my apron pocket so that someone else didn't try to accidentally make it. It didn't work out too well because that still happened. I accidentally put too much of this or that, etc. The trainer called out numbers for some of the orders, asking who was working on which number, and I'd look at the drink in my hand and just focus on it because most of the time, it wasn't the order number she called. The night ended okay. I helped close up shop, like I did the other 2 nights. Part of me thinks that shift was more difficult because I didn't have the same support from my coworkers, with one of them being completely new. I was really disappointed because I know I didn't do a good job that night, but thought I'd just do better next time. The grand opening was coming up, so I had to be. Also, petty detail, but I had gotten a plastic cup from them that day for the employees. The trainer told me that we'd only get free drinks if we put it in the cup. So, we should remember to bring it to our shifts. I got a call the day after my third shift from the trainer. She told me that they decided not to continue training with me because I was too slow compared to the other employees, and they needed someone who could work more hours. She also wanted me to come to the store and return the plastic cup because I wasn't an employee anymore. She didn't even mention the shirt, but I brought that too. It was pretty embarrassing walking into the store again and seeing the other employees I knew for about 2 or 3 days. At the very least, I had some emotional support from my friends, and the trainer wasn't there when I brought back the cup and the shirt. So that was a little lucky for me, I guess. Some of my friends were telling me it was unreasonable for them to let me go after my third shift, especially because they knew it was my first job and decided to hire me despite that. There was no formal training that I was put through. I had to learn how to make the drinks as I worked. And I was expected to spend about a minute on each drink, maybe a little longer for the blended drinks. Also, it was their job to train me, and that speed came with time. I'm not too sure what to believe, since I knew I didn't do a good job on that third shift. But part of me does want to believe that maybe it wasn't completely my fault that I was fired. Another friend told me that it seemed like they didn't care about the employees at all, and that they just needed to fill spots, treating them like they're replaceable. One of my friends thought that it was reasonable, since I couldn't necessarily meet their demands. Although again, part of me feels like I wasn't given the chance to. All of my friends agreed that the pay was way too low because I was working for $14 an hour, while the California minimum wage is $15 an hour. I'm trying not to think about it too much or be too disappointed. I focused a lot on the bad things during my shift, but I still got drinks out, helped restock when needed, washed the dishes, etc. However, because I have no prior job experience, it's hard for me to tell if it was a reasonable decision to be fired so early. Which is why I wanted to get other people's opinions here. I'd really appreciate it if someone could give me more insight, or compare experiences if you've worked at a boba place before too. 2. I haven't been working in service for very long, but I still got some Karen stories I want to share because I think it's funny. This one was the first Karen I had at this job, serving customers in a cafe. And it was actually a guy, but I don't know what the male version of a Karen is. I'm just chilling at work. It was when I had just started there and was still being taught what to do. Hey OP, can you take this coffee out to the guy at table 103? I gotta call our boss real quick about something. Sure thing. Guy at the table is, of course, the Karen dude. Here's your coffee. Do you need milk or sugar with that?
No thanks. Why, you're way faster than that old hag in there.
Me not really knowing how to respond to that, okay, enjoy your coffee. When I get back inside, my coworker is still on the phone with her boss, so I tell Al about it. This dude just called Jay an old hag. Like, that's so rude.
Oh yeah, he's like that. He called me the one with the fat ass once.
God, what's wrong with this dude? Jay comes back from her phone call, and of course I tell her about what this dude said. Hey Jay, you know that dude out there said you were slow and an old hag?
Wow, okay. I'll make sure to thank him for that compliment.
She later told me that she actually did thank him for the compliment, and he got very red in the face knowing exactly what she meant. A few days pass by, and I'm working again, this time with my coworker C. Karen dude is there again, but this time my coworker served him, so I didn't talk to him. At some point, I go outside to clean off a table next to the one he is sitting on with some other regulars. Karen dude says very loudly when I come outside to make sure I hear him,
"And that there's the stupid cow who told the old hag about what I said."
I'm very bad at confrontation, and I also wasn't sure what I was even allowed to say, so I just finish the table and go back in and tell C about what he said. C then proceeds to go outside and give him a whole speech about how he is allowed to criticize our service if he's not happy with it, but he can't go around insulting people like that, and that it is not welcome here. Aftermath of all that he pretty much stopped coming to our cafe, but he kept coming to other locations of our cafe where he was always insulting us to the people working there, who we know and obviously told us about it. I don't know why he thinks we don't talk to each other. This guy, who was probably at least in his 60s, also used to aggressively try to flirt with one of my coworkers, who was 26, and would even stand at the front counter and yell towards the back that he knows she's hiding in there. Of course she is, you creep. He also apparently knows what car every single one of my coworkers drives, so he always knew who was working since apparently his only other hobby besides insulting service workers was stalking all the parking lots around our place of work to see who was working. Makes me glad I walk to work, really. I haven't heard from this guy for a while, so we're all hoping he will never come back. 3. I'm female and 25, and I just started working as a waiter at a new, quirky, and pretty fancy distillery, bar, and restaurant. It is such a new place, it literally just opened 2 weeks ago, so everyone who works there, including me, has the same amount of experience at that specific venue. Before this, I worked in the industry since being 17, always part-time, and now I only do 2 shifts a week. Sort of for fun, because I actually have a pretty successful online business on the side. Anyways, I'm a friendly, easygoing, confident, and talkative person. All the customers love me and compliment me to the manager. I do my work well and enjoy it a lot. Also, all of our tips go in a pot and get shared equally. The annoying coworker. The annoying coworker is female and 21. She has exactly the same position as me. She is only pleasant to the managers and bossy to the rest of the staff. If she notices something wrong, instead of fixing it herself, she says, sort of in your direction, that it needs to be done. Example, she will walk past some wetness on the floor or past some dirty glasses and say, "The glasses need to be done," and walk away. You know what I mean? She bosses me and the other waiters around the floor. Example, "Have you done the table 5? You should collect glasses from table 2. I think the people from table 100,500 are ready to order." However, I have just been to table 100,500 2 minutes ago, and they clearly needed more time. So I get confused. Did the customers talk to her and ask to be served? Or is she just assuming this shit? Anyways, all her bossing around the floor just confuses my workflow. I never stand around doing nothing and am constantly alert for things, but she makes it unbearable and confusing. Finally, she is constantly serving my tables. I understand if the customer literally addresses her if I'm not around, for whatever reason. However, I would go to a table, introduce myself, show through the menu. 3 minutes later, I see her by my table, talking to my customers and taking their order. I never touch her tables. Even if I see that people's drinks are going down, I would not cause confusion and leave it to her. Yet she is constantly there around my tables. This confuses the customers and confuses me, and just annoys me because I don't understand sometimes what I'm doing at this work if she can just do it all. And also, it makes me feel as if I'm not doing something well enough, so she has to do my tables. I tried talking to her calmly multiple times, saying, "Look, you're doing this really sets off my working flow. Please can you not boss me around or serve my tables, because it confuses me and must confuse customers." Like when she serves them, when I don't see. I come up 2 minutes later, but their order has already been taken. And this happens constantly. And I don't let any customers wait, but also don't want to be pushy. I do my job well, so her being this way is totally pointless. So talking to her didn't help. Today she was serving my table again, so I lost my shit and went to talk to our general manager. The GM was nice and just asked me to calm down and said, "Look, she's just more confident and experienced than you." And this phrase made me so mad. She is neither more confident or experienced than me. She's just an arrogant, bossy, ignorant person who is just very bland and rude to coworkers. Being this way does not make her a good leader, if that's what she's going for, but just unbearable to work with. And also, GM saying that this coworker is somehow better than me made me mad, because this girl literally is not letting me work. And as I said, whenever that person is not around, all the customers love my service and verbally express it to the managers. I always get tipped well, so I think I'm very good at what I do. Please send moral support. If this bitch gets promoted, I'm gonna quit right away. 4. I've been working at a nicer, fine dining establishment for about a year now. I absolutely love my coworkers. My fellow servers have become some of my closest friends in a short amount of time. My issue is with the ownership and management. I get that owning and operating a family restaurant, let alone any restaurant, is difficult and stressful. However, these are some of the rudest, most manipulative and dysfunctional people that I have ever worked for. They arbitrarily enforce this concept called ticket errors, where servers and bartenders are required to pay for any mistakes that we make out of pocket. If we want to get a check from them, if we have one, we have to pay off these errors which really add up. The people that own this place are hardcore boomers who refuse to make any quality of life updates for their employees. Instead of a point-of-sale system or computers, we use a very archaic method of taking orders that basically consists of handwriting orders for the kitchen, transcribing them to coded numbers, and then punching those numbers into a 1992 Casio to print out the check. It is a nightmare when we have to split the checks more than 2 ways. Anyway, my point in saying this is there's a lot of room for error here. Errors happen. Humans work here. But isn't that the cost of business? I have never worked for a restaurant where the owners demand that their workers pay for mistakes made, down to the last sweet tea. It seems pretty shady to me. When things don't add up, I start asking questions. I've done some research, and according to the FLSA, this practice does not seem exactly legal. These people have been in business for decades, and the people who have been working for them a long time are the ones who drink the Kool-Aid. I don't think that anybody really challenges them. And as a server and a hostess, I'm one of the people responsible for checking everyone's tickets for errors. I just straight up said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to help you rob your employees, thanks. So today, one of the owner-managers comes in and tells me the bartenders who do the books and give us our tips that the servers are not to receive their tips at the end of the night unless they have paid off all their ticket errors and have the bartender sign off on it. I'm just waiting on the day that I work my butt off only to be told I won't be paid unless I fork over some cash first. It just seems wrong and predatory. Not to mention one of the owners' chefs is on a serious power trip and has an unhealthy amount of power over the front of house and back of house, most of which are college and high school students. He routinely says creepy stuff to the female servers and bullies the males. It's just toxic. My question for you is, do you think it is illegal? Should these people be reported? Have any of you dealt with something similar? Thanks in advance. Update. Went in Friday night to work. The manager-owner was more upset that I didn't call her back at 9:30 the night before than she actually was about me quitting. Luckily, I just put my 2 weeks in this afternoon. I'm going back to school and have bigger fish to fry. It really irks me that they take advantage of us and nobody has done anything about it for so long. My parting advice to my colleagues is to document everything. 5. A decade ago, I worked for a chain of restaurants I highly doubt you've heard of. Oh, if you're an American, there's no way you haven't heard of the other restaurant company that bailed them out of bankruptcy oblivion after our former and disgraced CEO went to federal prison for misappropriation of funds. Our building was divided up into several different rooms, including 3 rooms for banquets. One weekend night, I walked in early and stopped at the host stand to see where I was assigned. I looked on the floor map and I saw that a manager had plotted to seat a party of 18 people at 2 tables that clearly couldn't hold that many. Maybe 10 or even 12 people at most. I confirmed with the hostess that we didn't have any large banquets booked in the banquet rooms, and checked the nearest one just to make sure. Now, there are a few things I hated more than having to wait on people in 2 separate rooms. If, or when, it gets busy, I want to be able to see all my tables at once and check to see if anyone's trying to make eye contact with me to get my attention. But split my tables up into 2 separate rooms and I start forgetting things and people, etc. However, I also knew that these 18 people would be miserable if we crammed them all into the 2 tables in my room. The managers and our district manager were busy having a meeting, i.e. eating dinner together at our table in the kitchen. So I didn't want to interrupt them. I explained to the hostess that I would take the 18 top in the nearby banquet room, and to not seat the 2 reserved tables so I wouldn't get overwhelmed. She nodded in agreement, understanding that it was the right thing to do. As I was setting up the banquet table, the manager who had plotted our reservations on the map walked into the room and started yelling at me. "You did that to embarrass me in front of the other managers, in front of the district manager." What? Apparently, despite my explaining to the hostess that I didn't want to bother the managers, she walked up to their table and said something like,
McCready67 saw that you'd plotted too many people at 406 and 407, so he's gonna wait on them at the banquet table in the 600s.
I think I dealt with her outbursts before, so instead of being hurt, I said, fine, I don't care, stick them in 406 and 407, and walked out of the room. But wait, there's more. Minutes later, she stopped me in the hall and started yelling, I know you told her to say that, along with some other accusations. But I had no idea what she was talking about. What are you talking about? I asked. Don't lie to me. You told her to complain, she accused. Unknown to either of us, while this manager was yelling at me the first time in the banquet room for me doing my job, the lady who'd made the reservation for her group asked to see the table. But when she saw where they had expected all her friends and her to sit for dinner, she was furious. She walked back with the hostess to the kitchen table and told the managers that there was no way they could all fit in there and demanded to have a larger table. So of course my manager, who thought 18 people would be happy to sit at a table only for 10 or 12, assumed I'd put the customer up to this. Why else would she not want the 18 people in her party to be crammed into a table for only 10 or 12 people? I wish I could say that after that second unhinged outburst, I walked up to our general manager and district manager, still eating at the kitchen table, and said, as I took off my apron, I'm going home. When and if your manager pulls her head out of her ass, let me know and I'll consider coming back. But unfortunately, I just walked around angry for a bit before continuing my job. I had bills to pay. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Spinning Plates, episode 171. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. If you enjoyed the video, then please share it with your friends and family. I appreciate it ever so much when you do that. And if you've already done so, thank you very much. Alright, let's see. We're on Saturday, aren't we, today? Yes, we are. Okay. And we do have a little birthday shout-out to do, so let's see who it's for. Okay. Today's birthday shout-out goes to Kana. And Kana is 10 years old today. Hope you're having a lovely time today, dear, and that you get to stuff your face with cake and all sorts of yummy things, whatever you like, really. Chocolate and ice cream. Just chocolate and ice cream in a big bowl together. I'm giving myself ideas now. Okay, now, before we go, I'd like to sing happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kana. Happy birthday to you. Right, and are we going to be greedy? Are we going to have a Hellfreezer's question of the day? Oh, why not? Let's treat ourselves. It's the weekend. Okay, so Hellfreezer's question of the day. Right, now the past few weeks I've been going out and doing some of my grocery shopping and getting the rest delivered, but today I need a little more than usual, so I'm just going to get it all delivered. And I was looking at it thinking, you know, I'm feeling well enough to do cooking now, like more cookie things, because I've been doing more of that, and I'm thinking of making spaghetti bolognese. And whenever I think of doing that, in my mind it always immediately goes to, well, let's make lasagna and then we can do spaghetti bolognese later. Because when I make my lasagna, I've always got plenty of the sauce and the meat and the mushrooms and all that left over. So that just gets put in a tub and in the freezer until I need it. So like a week or two later, take that out and then yummy spaghetti bolognese. And I know it's yummy because I made it myself. So foods that you make that freeze well. What do you kind of go to as you think, okay, I can make that and there'll be lots for later and you can have it like weeks or a month or whatever later. I have frozen latagna before and it's fine, but I find that the sauce and everything freezes better on its own. Chicken white wine sauce, that freezes very well. Curries, they all freeze very well for me as well. So what are your go-tos that you can save yourself time later, but also gives you a nice home-cooked meal? Leave your answers in a comment below, please. Okay. Oh, as it is a weekend, I will almost certainly be doing my bestest to my bestest, honestly. You think I stopped saying that, but now I'm 40 years old. Anyway, doing my bestest to have a stream of some kind tonight. There's also another thing I've been thinking of, but I'm not sure if it's allowed. I see people doing it, but I'm not sure if it's something YouTube's annoyed by, where there's essentially 24-hour streams where what you do is you basically get a playlist of your videos, easy enough for me to do. I've got most of my videos backed up to an external hard drive, and you load them up in a video player, and then you use OBS or whatever streaming software just to play the playlist, right? And I would literally have content that I could do for quite a while. I've got over 2,000 videos, for crying out loud. I'm trying to feel that out. I don't know if it's viable. I don't even know if it's something you guys would want. But if it is, let me know, and I'll see if I can find an answer to it. If I can't get a solid answer, I won't do it, because you don't want to piss YouTube off. But it would be interesting. It would be fun to be something to try out, and it might even help, catch people's eye and attract new viewers to this little reading group of ours. Okay. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.